All right, so we have watch parties going on across the state right now, and there is a watch party going on in one of my very favorite communities, Beloit, Wisconsin. Hello, Beloit. Hello. And so this next question is from Beloit. Community organizations and residents often identify problems and solutions long before they show up in state data. How will you ensure that every Wisconsin family, regardless of race, income, disability, or zip code, can benefit from your affordability agenda? How will you ensure that community voices, not just agency reports, shape your administration's priorities, budget decisions, and policies? And how will you work with the legislature to turn these priorities into law? If elected, will you select historically underrepresented folks who are community-based to be in your cabinet?
So I'm glad you brought that up. I was actually in Beloit a couple Sundays ago at Emmanuel Baptist Church.
Great.
Just felt I need to mention that.
Great.
I've never run for office with the idea that I was going to figure out the issues after I got elected. Ran for office because of the organizing work that I'd been a part of for so long. And all that organizing work included impacted communities. The work we did around treatment instead of prison and criminal justice reform, it didn't just include formerly incarcerated individuals. It was led by formerly incarcerated individuals. Our immigration reform work was led by people who were impacted by immigration policy that continues to be unjust. Our jobs and economic development work was led by people in the trades or small business owners that weren't able to qualify or compete for certain state or federal grants because they didn't have the bonding capacity to do so. And our education work wasn't just led by educators, it was led by students as well. And so this has been the way that I've sought to come to any decision point during my entire professional life. When I was in the state assembly, I made sure that the work that I did involved input from the neighborhood organizations and the community organizations, and it was all informed by everything that led me up to the point to even seek public office. As lieutenant governor, I still lived in Milwaukee. I was the only statewide elected official who lived in Milwaukee because it was important for me to never, ever lose touch with my neighborhood, with my community. And, you know, if people downstairs from me, if they had an issue, you just come say hi. And it was grounding for me because a lot of people, it can be easy to get into office and lose touch. And it's impossible to lose touch if you're still going home to the same place every night. And it was important for me to bring people who weren't just representative of communities that had been left behind, but also people who challenged me. And I remember a group of young folks who came speaking about a particular issue, and they were fired up, just kind of yelling at me a little bit. And once they got done, I let them have it. And once they got done, like, you realize we're on the same exact page here. And it was an opportunity for me to actually explain the legislative process. It was a way for me to say, well, unfortunately in the Capitol, there are a lot of people who are against us on this issue, but that passion is what is missing from our side. And I brought some of those students in to be a part of some of our task force work, to lead these conversations, to be in rooms and sit at tables full of CEOs and industry leaders and people that they wouldn't have had a chance to air their grievance in front of. And also, those same folks would not have heard that perspective if it were not for those rooms. So yes, absolutely, we'll bring people who have been missing from state government for so long, because this is about breaking the status quo and fixing a broken system.
Thank you, Mandela. Kelda.
First, I want to confess a failure on my part. The reason my family is in Wisconsin is because my dad came to Beloit College, loved it so much.
You forgot to say that?
And
Sorry.
he loved it so much that he decided to stay in Wisconsin forever. And he loves me. He's proud of me. But he's still pretty bummed that I didn't go to Beloit. So hi to our friends in Beloit. You're absolutely right that a lot of the solutions to problems are right in front of our face. We actually do know how to alleviate poverty. We know how to eliminate opportunity gaps before they begin. We know how to stop mass incarceration and actually get serious about public safety. This is not rocket science. We have the answers. What we have lacked is the political will. Our political system is not built to make change easy, and it is up to us to demand change. And as Obama said, don't boo, vote, and then make me do it. That was the other thing he said. Yes, I want to do it, but make me do it. There is supposed to be this positive feedback loop between voters and elected officials, and it is a virtuous cycle, right? Where we, you entrust us with power, and then we do good things, and then, you tell us what you need, and then we deliver. That's how it's supposed to work, and Republicans have broken that again and again. Not to keep harping on the gerrymandering, but this is the dystopian hell that we've all been living through the last 15 years that we so desperately need to end. On this, I would say, don't take my word for it. Don't take our promises of how we're going to govern. Look at what I have done and how I have used the power that I've had in the situations that I've had it. I try to say, let's look around and see who's not here, and how can we get other folks who might have something to share with us at the table. When I was the executive director of NARAL Pro-Choice Wisconsin, I was able to pass the first pro-choice bill in 30 years through the state legislature, even though it was controlled by Republicans in the assembly at the time. But I knew I wasn't going to be able to do a lot more on abortion. So I started working on infant mortality and maternal mortality, which Wisconsin has some of the worst racial disparities in the nation. I was one of the first legislators in the state assembly to really start taking aim at mass incarceration and criminal justice reform, based on the work that I had done in law school on the Innocence Project. So time and again, I have taken on issues that I think are really important, where oftentimes the community knows what needs to be done, but they haven't had a champion in a seat of power to help bring their voices in. And I'm really proud that wherever I travel in the state, as a member of the Joint Finance Committee or on the campaign trail, I will often have somebody come up to me and say, you know what? I wrote to every single legislator about my issue. And of all of them, you were the only one who responded. I spend a lot of my time in the legislature making people feel heard and letting them know that I care and that we are in this together.
Fran.
Ours is a permanent affordability agenda because the scale and scope in which the affordability crisis has grown into, I think the only responsible policies to meet and actually solve these problems are the universal policies that we have proposed. Free childcare, healthy school meals for all, paid leave for all, ensuring everyone has access to fair, cheaper healthcare, and that we build permanent affordable housing. These are, I think, more and more folks are recognizing that we've been told that it is not possible, but the thing is, people are realizing that that's bullshit. When you have, and I will be an executive willing to wield the full power of the executive, and whether that is in knowing when to call in a state of emergency, when to make sure that it is an executive order if there is resistance from the legislature, but to put forth the agenda that is the most comprehensive and ambitious, because creating the conditions to do that will take organizing, and it is what we are doing right now. But for government to be the force of good, the people deserve to be educated in what it is capable of. And I don't think that, folks want the same players and plays or use the same playbook, because what we've been doing has gotten us here. So a transformative agenda and working to make sure that people know that it's incrementalism, I think, is deeply irresponsible. We do need to have people who are willing to wield power to the fullest extent, yes, but also organize a new coalition of people who are newly engaged in politics to then bring that, to not only bring the agenda to those communities, but to let folks know that there's more people demanding better of their politicians. When the pressure, that inside-outside game, right? When you have leadership that is now answering, where power answers to people and not to just lobbyists and not to folks who have the most access to the governor's office, but we're bringing new voices to the table because there's a new type of leadership. That is the type of organizing and the coalition that we are building right now, where earning the excitement of folks of wanting to get engaged and stay engaged, that beyond a campaign for a candidate, then we're campaigning on the issues, that when we tax, that the money is there, the surplus funds are there, that it is, yes, political will and political power that can only be built by people who are organizing and folks who are willing to continue to grow the platform of talking about the importance of state legislature and state government, and how when things feel so deeply, deeply existential and at crisis on a world or national level, that when we empower local governments and actually have fair shared revenue and give local governments the funding that they need, when not only are we raising wages, we're doing it simultaneously by taxing the ultra rich. I think that permanent affordability is the one that we need to aim for, so that we aren't being shortchanged.